New COVID-19 protocols taking effect for Columbia Public Schools summer school students as COVID-19 cases rise.
And we're not done with the rain yet. It's still moving through. I'm talking about the next 8 days, what you can expect for the week ahead coming up.
Plus 7 years, 7 floods. Why one Jefferson City couple is frustrated with how the city has responded to ongoing problems. This is KOMU 8 News, first at 5.
Coverage you can count on. KOMU 8 News starts now.
Well, a heads up for parents before you send your kiddos on the bus tomorrow morning. Starting tomorrow, Columbia Public summer school students will have new mask and quarantine guidelines to follow. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Emily Spain. Thanks for joining us. All summer school students 11 and younger will be required to wear a mask. As a reminder, people under the age of 12 are not yet eligible for COVID-19 vaccines. The district will require masks indoors and on buses, but not outside. While students 12 and older are not required to wear masks, the district says they are still highly encouraged. There are also adjustments to quarantine guidelines starting tomorrow. So anyone who is fully vaccinated or wearing a mask and has no symptoms after exposure to COVID will not be required to quarantine. On Friday, we talked to Michelle Baumstark about why younger students are seeing these additional guidelines.
The mitigation strategies, those are really focused on our younger students because a couple reasons. One, that's where we're seeing the largest number of positive cases and individuals needing to be quarantined as a result. It's also the age group that does not yet have access to the vaccine.
Since CPS mask guidelines have changed over the past year, we have a timeline to look back at those. In the fall of 2020, the school year started. All students were required to wear masks. Those students were given the option to do the semester virtually. Elementary school students returned to classes October 19th. They also had the option to do the semester online. The last day of school was June 3rd, and the next day, June 4th. Masks were no longer required in CPS buildings. Summer school started June 14th. Masks not required, but now masks will be required for summer school students 11 and under. Kenton.
All right, Emily. Well, we're not quite done with that rain yet. Tracking everything for the week ahead coming up.
Okay, thanks, Kenton. Strong winds Saturday morning toppled the steeple of an historic church in St. Louis. Fire crews say the steeple on the Centenary United Methodist Church fell around 2 a.m. It happened while St. Louis was under a severe thunderstorm warning. The storm also blew off part of the roof. Debris was scattered along several streets below, but narrowly and surprisingly missed all the cars parked nearby. No one got hurt. Damage from flooding in Jefferson City has led some residents pleading to the city for help. KOMU 8's Lucy Kales in the studio to describe the damage one family has dealt with. Lucy.
Emily, 4 Jefferson City residents attended last Thursday's Public Works Committee meeting asking the city to address ongoing flood damage to their homes. They argue a change to the stormwater systems will help things get better. These pictures of one of the homes show what things looked like when the flooding got bad, but they say that this has gone on for years.
Turning nationally now to the condo collapse in Florida, the Miami-Dade mayor says the death count has now grown to 90. 71 of the 90 victims have been identified and 31 people are still unaccounted for. So far, crews have moved 14 million pounds of concrete and debris from this site. Crews say as they're moving a lot of debris, they're still doing so very carefully. They say for now they're focusing their search on the area around staircases where the structure is the strongest. Police in Denver say 4 people are in custody after a housekeeper found more than a dozen weapons in a hotel room across the street from Coors Field, just days ahead of the MLB All-Star game there. Witness video shows officers in SWAT gear walking into the lobby of the downtown Denver hotel. They executed a search warrant on 2 hotel rooms based on the housekeeper's tip and found 16 guns, more than 1,000 rounds of ammo and body armor. Officers, as well as witnesses who saw the police come in, say they were worried about a Las Vegas-style shooting.
So our balcony faces directly towards Coors Field. There's no building in between. You just the balcony, you can see straight across to Coors Field. So thank you to whoever reported what they saw, because they could have circumvented a catastrophe.
In a statement, the FBI said it has, quote, no reason to believe the incident was connected to terrorism or a threat at the All-Star game. The FBI also said it isn't aware of any threats against the game or its players. Dr. Anthony Fauci says it's too soon to say whether Americans will need a COVID-19 vaccine booster. comes after Pfizer said last week that some people might need a third shot of its vaccine. But Dr. Fauci says the government isn't ready to make that recommendation. He says there are ongoing studies to figure out when or if the government will start recommending those booster shots.
There's a lot of work going on to examine this in real time to see if we might need a boost. But right now, given the data that the CDC and the FDA has, they don't feel that we need to tell people right now you need to be boosted. We in the United States have enough vaccinations to give to everybody in the country, and they're life-saving.
Pfizer says it is seeing decreasing immunity rates from its coronavirus vaccine. It says it is ramping up efforts to develop a booster dose and will publish data about a third dose, including how it protects against variants like the Delta variant. Ahead for us, Pope Francis made his first public appearance since surgery last week, an update on his condition. Plus, a winner in the so-called billionaire space race, what Richard Branson had to say after his historic flight. Welcome back. Pope Francis made his first public appearance this morning since having a major intestinal surgery a week ago. He greeted hospital staff and patients in the halls of the hospital before and after holding a weekly prayer from a balcony at the hospital. In his address, he talked about the importance of health care for all and also prayed for Haiti after the assassination of the country's president.
I join in the heartfelt appeal of the country's bishops to lay down their arms, to choose life, to choose to live together fraternally in the interests of all and in the interests of others. I am close to the dear Haitian people. I hope that the spiral of violence will cease and that the nation will be able to resume the path towards a future of peace and harmony.
The Vatican says Pope Francis has been steadily on the mend since his surgery last week. He's expected to be released tomorrow. Coming up, the first self-funded space mission now complete. A look at Richard Branson's historic flight. The so-called billionaire space race now has a winner. British entrepreneur Richard Branson flew into space aboard his company's rocket-powered vehicle this morning, a trip 17 years in the making. He also beat fellow billionaire Amazon founder Jeff Bezos by 9 days, reaching the milestone. And the next step, flying space tourists beyond Earth. NBC's Jennifer Johnson reports. Both Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk have congratulated Branson, with Bezos tweeting, quote, "Can't wait to join the club." Kenton.
All right, Emily, take a look at how much rainfall we've seen across the state of Missouri.
Okay, thanks, Kenton. More and more people are saying yes, and I do. Coming up, what's driving the wedding industry's rebound besides true love, that is. Well, as people start to go back to working in person, some parents are running into a new problem, the cost of childcare. The Center for American Progress estimated the average cost of daycare of one toddler before the pandemic was about $9,000 per year, but that has since doubled to $18,000 a year. Experts say much of that is out of necessity, with daycares having to shrink class sizes and buy more cleaning products compared to before the pandemic. More and more Americans are putting pools in their backyards this summer. Experts say there are a few things driving this increase in pool sales. They say as more people move to the suburbs and to warmer states, they're looking to improve how their backyards look. Experts say there are some short-term challenges, including the chlorine shortage. Once the pool is in the ground, economists say it's important to maintain that pool to keep your home value up. Also, there's an increased demand for engagement rings and wedding bands. Jewelers say they saw a massive spike in sales in April and May that continued into the summer. Economists say the wedding industry is making a major rebound as the economy starts to bounce back from COVID-19 and couples start planning those engagements and weddings that were postponed because of the pandemic. Economists also say many Americans were able to save money for rings during the pandemic when they weren't spending it on vacations and restaurants. We'll be right back with the final check of your forecast after this.